AMC asked for a mid-engine supercar that could run 160 miles per hour. By 1970, a revised AMX3 was reportedly touching about 170 at Monza. It had the shape, the speed, and the credibility to stand beside the most dramatic European machines of its era. Then American Motors cancelled it. The easy explanation is that AMC could not finish the car. The more revealing truth is almost the opposite. The engineers were solving the problems. What they could not solve was the price of turning a brilliant prototype into a profitable automobile. 3 years earlier, this was exactly the kind of problem AMC wanted to have. American Motors was smaller than General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, and it lacked their enormous product budgets. But it was no longer content to be known only for sensible transportation. The Javelin entered the pony car fight. The two-seat AMX gave AMC a compact performance flagship. Behind both of them was design chief Dick Teague, a man who understood that one unforgettable car could change how buyers saw an entire company. In May of 1967, Teague and designer Bob Nixon received approval to explore something far more radical. Their idea placed the engine behind the seats, giving AMC a route into the exotic car world without copying the proportions of a conventional Detroit muscle car. This was not meant to replace the regular AMX. It was a halo car, a rolling statement that the smallest major American automaker could think as boldly as anyone in Italy. The first public hint arrived as the AMX/2 show car at the Chicago Auto Show in February of 1969. Low, wide, and impossibly exotic beside AMC's production cars. It tested whether the public would accept an American Motors badge on a mid-engine shape. The reaction was strong enough to keep the real project moving. What followed was not a simple Detroit design sent overseas for assembly. It became a complicated international program involving AMC in the United States, Giotto Bizzarini and Salvatore Diamante in Italy, Giorgetto Giugiaro's Italdesign organization, and BMW engineers in Germany. The surviving records do not always agree on exactly who did every piece of the work. That uncertainty matters, because the AMX3 is often reduced to one famous European name. Its final shape, however, grew from the AMC studio effort led by Teague and Nixon, while the European partners helped turn the concept into a running, testable machine. AMC had also considered a competing proposal from Giugiaro. His design was elegant, but the in-house team won. It had a distinctly American kind of confidence. The nose was clean and low. The fenders rose over the wheels. The tail looked broad and planted rather than delicate. It did not resemble a Javelin with the engine moved backward. It looked like a new species for the company. Underneath that shape, the project became much harder. A mid-engine car concentrates heat, noise, and mechanical mass directly behind the passengers. The chassis must resist flex without becoming too heavy. The cooling system has to move enough air and water through a body with very little frontal opening. The transmission must fit behind the engine without stretching the entire car. These were not styling exercises. They were production problems, and AMC was trying to solve them with a fraction of the resources available to the largest manufacturers. The engine at least came from familiar territory. The AMX3 used AMC's 390 cubic inch V8, rated at 340 gross horsepower in period form. It was muscular, compact enough for the installation, and unmistakably connected to the company's performance cars. The transmission was a different matter. A commonly available ZF transaxle was too long for the package, so a special 4-speed unit was developed with OTO Melara in Italy. That custom solution was technically impressive, but it quietly exposed the danger inside the whole program. Every special part added capability, cost, and risk at the same time. A low-volume car could not spread expensive tooling across hundreds of thousands of sales. The more exotic the AMX3 became, the more each completed car would have to cost. AMC needed independent engineering discipline, not just enthusiasm, so it contracted BMW to evaluate and develop the car. In BMW's records, the project was known as E18. The target included stability at 160 miles per hour, a number that demanded far more than a powerful engine and dramatic bodywork. The first prototype did not pass that test cleanly. BMW's evaluation identified frame flex, poor welds, suspension concerns, cooling problems, and brake issues. That list sounds fatal if the story stops there. It did not. Early prototypes exist to reveal weaknesses before customers do, and the team responded with structural and mechanical changes. By December of 1969, BMW reported that the second prototype was roughly 50% stiffer than the Mercedes benchmark used in its comparison. Cooling and packaging work continued. Suspension geometry changed. The car was not magically finished, and the prototypes were not all identical, but the direction was clear. The AMX3 was becoming a credible high-speed automobile rather than a show car shell. Testing at Monza supplied the emotional proof. The car had been asked to reach 160 miles per hour. A developed example reportedly went close to 170. That result did not erase the remaining work, but it changed the nature of the question. AMC no longer had to ask whether its mid-engine idea could function. It had to ask whether the company could afford to build it. For a brief moment in the spring of 1970, the answer still appeared to be yes. The AMX3 met the press in Rome on March 23rd. It appeared in New York days later and went on display as the auto show opened in early April. The timing was extraordinary. Ford introduced the De Tomaso Pantera to American attention at almost the same moment, giving buyers two visions of a European-shaped, American-powered exotic. The comparison made the AMX3 look legitimate, but it also made its price problem impossible to hide. AMC had discussed building perhaps 3 cars a month at a price near $10,000. As the real costs became clearer, estimates moved to at least $12,000. That was roughly 20% more than the Pantera and more than 3 times the price of a regular 1970 AMX. That difference was not a minor premium for extra leather or a larger engine. It changed who could buy the car and how the car would be judged. At $10,000, the AMX3 was already an expensive halo product. At $12,000 or more, it had to defeat established exotic car expectations while wearing a badge most Americans associated with practical family cars. The very reason AMC needed the AMX3 also made the AMX3 harder to sell. If you enjoy the forgotten decisions behind America's most fascinating cars, subscribe. These machines make the most sense when we look beyond the brochure and follow the choices that decided their fate. The low planned production volume made the arithmetic even harsher. 3 cars a month would create rarity, but rarity alone does not pay for custom transmissions, hand-built bodies, international engineering, tooling, certification, warranty support, and a dealer network capable of servicing an unfamiliar machine. Raising the price could improve the margin on paper, yet every price increase reduced the number of credible buyers. Building more cars might lower the cost per unit, but it would require more capital and expose AMC to much greater risk. Then the company ran into the kind of timing problem that can destroy a fragile business case. A major labor strike interrupted AMC in the fall of 1970. Federal safety requirements were also moving towards stronger bumper protection for the early 1970s, while emissions rules were tightening. A car still being developed would need more engineering, more testing, and probably visible changes. Each month of delay made the original design more expensive to preserve. None of those pressures alone provides a neat villain. The Pantera did not simply frighten AMC into surrender. The bumper rule did not instantly ban the AMX3. The first prototype's flaws did not prove the concept impossible. The cancellation came from the combined weight of a small company's limited cash, a climbing unit price, tiny production volume, a strong lower-priced rival, labor disruption, and a regulatory clock that would not stop. That distinction is what makes the AMX3 more than another lost concept car. Its engineering story was moving upward, while its business case was moving downward. Every improvement made the car more real, but becoming real also revealed the true cost of production. The faster the prototype went, the less room the accountants had to pretend that a hand-built exotic could be sold like an ordinary AMC. By the end of 1970, the production dream was over. AMC kept building performance cars, but it never again came this close to putting a homegrown mid-engine exotic into showrooms. The company would face larger strategic battles in the years ahead, eventually becoming part of Chrysler. The AMX-3 remained frozen at the point where ambition had outrun the balance sheet. Even the survivor count reflects the project's unfinished nature. 6 completed cars are traditionally recognized as the core group, while additional chassis, spare components, and later derivatives make the total story more complicated. That ambiguity is not a flaw in the legend. It is physical evidence of a program stopped between prototype development and true production. The cars that remain also overturn an old assumption about AMC. They do not look like an economy company pretending to build an exotic. They look resolved, purposeful, and remarkably fresh. The engine is not an imported jewel. It is AMC's own V8. The design is not an Italian body placed on an existing American chassis. It is the result of a Detroit idea pushed through Italian fabrication and German testing until it could survive real speed. That does not mean the AMX X3 would have conquered the exotic market. A production version still needed durability validation, regulatory work, manufacturing discipline, service support, and buyers willing to pay more than Pantera money for an AMC. Success was never guaranteed, but failure was not guaranteed by the car itself either. The AMX X3 reached the cruelest stage of automotive development. It was good enough to prove the dream, but not cheap enough to justify it. AMC wanted 160 miles per hour. The engineers delivered about 170. They strengthened the chassis, attacked the cooling problems, and gave the smallest Detroit automaker a machine with genuine international credibility. What they could not deliver was favorable arithmetic. At 3 cars a month, every custom component mattered. At $12,000, every competing badge mattered. With a strike underway and new standards approaching, every delay mattered. The prototype worked, the business model did not. That is why the AMX3 still feels like more than a museum curiosity. It represents the moment American Motors nearly escaped the limits of its own identity. For a few months in 1970, AMC did not look like the company chasing Detroit's giants. It looked like the company challenging the world's exotics. The car survived long enough to show that the ambition was real. The math made sure the showroom version never was.